Good morning, members. Good morning, members of the public. You're all very welcome here this morning to Babergh District Council's Planning Committee. May I first of all remind you of some of the domestic arrangements. Please ensure that the microphones and cameras are turned off when not in use, that you do not interrupt other speakers. If you wish to speak, or a point of order, or declaration of interest, or request an adjournment, please use the hands up function on the taskbar. Members are reminded that they should not have alternative communication lines open, other Teams chats, and that if you are contacted by a third party during an application, you should bring this to the legal advisor's attention. If you are attending the meeting to speak and persistently interrupt the meeting, you may be asked to leave. If members do lose connection to the meeting, please would they contact the Member Support Officer Mandy Smith as soon as possible. We will be using modern.gov to conduct all electronic votes during the meeting. I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewings. The whole of the meeting will be recorded, except where there are confidential or exempt items. If you make a representation to the meeting, you will be deemed by the council to have consented to being recorded. By entering this meeting as a speaker, you are also consenting to being recorded by the council and to the possible use of those sound recordings for webcasting and/or training purposes. The council's members of the public and press may record, film, photograph or broadcast this meeting when the public and press are not lawfully excluded. Thank you. I'd like to introduce you to the following officers: Area Planning Manager Mark Russell, Planning Lawyer Ian DePrace, Governance Officer is Claire Philpott, Case Officer Samantha Summers, Sarah Scott and Jasmine Weinmark. Now I'll move to the agenda. Item number 1, apologies for absence and substitutions. Do we have any?
Thank you, Chair.
Right, yep.
Apologies. We have apologies from Councillor Melanie Barrett and Councillor Alison Owen, and Councillor Sean Dawson is substituting for Councillor Barrett.
Right, thank you very much. The rest of us are all present. Are there any declarations of interest by members to be declared? No. Right, we'll move to item number 3 to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 7th of April. They've been sent through. Hopefully you've all had a chance to have a read of them. Can I ask, are there any points of accuracy? I see no hands going up, so if not, then can I ask for somebody to propose? Councillor Ayres?
Yes, I propose that we accept them. Thank you, Chair.
And do I have a seconder, please? Oh, well, there's no one. I'll second them then. I've seconded them. Right. I'll now ask the Governance Officer to take us through the electronic vote. Thank you. Claire, can you take us through that, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Councillors, on your ModGov app, please select the plus sign on the top right and then select attendance and voting, followed by voting. The vote for this item should now show in progress and in a light blue colour.
Yes, that's correct. Confirm, and then close.
Just waiting.
I think I think I remember the correct order that time, so I think I've got to the end.
Okay,
of it.
yeah, I'm just waiting for one vote.
That's mine.
Councillor Dawson, would you like me to take your vote verbally?
Yes, I can't get it open.
Okay.
Yes, I'm for.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. Chair, so that's 10 votes for, that's unanimous.
Thank you very much. Right, then we can move on. Item number 4 is the notification of any petitions in accordance with the Council's petition scheme. Claire?
None received, Chair.
Thank you very much. Site inspections. Officers, are there any site inspection requests? Mark?
None received, Chair.
Thank you very much. Members, are there any site inspection requests? No, thank you. I'll then move on to item number 6, and that's on page 11, and the officer Samantha Summers, and this is Burroughs Arms. If you'd like to take us through, Samantha.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'll just pop my presentation up for you. If you could tell me when you can see it, please.
Yes, we can see it and I can hear you.
Lovely, that's great. Okay. Right, good morning, everyone. This application comes to committee as it is considered to be contentious. There have been 55 letters of support. A petition was received with 530 signatures, but this has been invalidated, which is why the governance officer has not mentioned it previously. The petition was in support of the application. There has been one letter of objection. Objections have been received from Boxford Parish Council, the Heritage Team and the Landscape Officer. The application seeks full planning permission for the erection of 6 bungalows and 5 holiday cabins on land adjacent to the Brewers Arms Public House in Babergh High, Polstead. This is the application site shown in the hatched area. The public house is located on the A1071, which links Sudbury to Hadley and Ipswich. The public house sits on the edge of a small cluster of dwellings in Babergh High, just here. There is a touring caravan site to the south of the site, just here. Babergh High does not have a built-up area boundary and is classified as countryside in the local plan. 2 appeals for single dwellings have been dismissed in recent years. One at Walnut Cottage within the cluster of Babergh High, and the other one at Miracle Barn, just located outside of the cluster. The inspector found that the location was not suitable for new housing. This shows the small cluster of dwellings in Babergh High. The only facilities within the cluster are the public house, which is located at the bottom here with a triangular shape, and the bus stops. The cluster is located in a very rural setting, and you can see all the fields surrounding the area. This shows the site in a little bit more detail. This is the public house building just here. It has a beer garden here, a children's play area, formal parking with the access point here, and some informal overflow parking in this section here. The application site is located on agricultural land, which is classed as Grade 2 agricultural land. Grade 2 land is considered to be very good quality land for generally a high yield level. There are very mature trees and hedgerows along the field boundaries to the north and also to the west. Polstead has 3 different built-up area boundaries. One in Polstead Heath, which is a small cluster here, one in White Street Green, another cluster, and then in Polstead Village itself. The main facilities for the village, including a shop and church and another public house, are all located in this area of Polstead. Other facilities that are close to Babergh High located in Boxford and in Hadley. And that's where you'll find shops, doctors' surgeries, and those type of facilities and schools. There is no pedestrian link on made-up footpaths with street lighting, which would link the Bower House tie to Boxford. And actually, you would need to walk along a 60-mile-an-hour speed limit road in order to gain access to Boxford, which is 2.5 kilometres away. The distance to the day-to-day facilities is considered to be unsustainable for residents, and they would require the use of a motor vehicle in order to gain access to those day-to-day facilities. It is noted that in the emerging joint local plan, the application site is outside of the settlement boundary, which also excludes the access to the public house, which is here. So the new settlement boundary would just be around the cluster of dwellings and the public house itself, but no land that belongs to the public house other than the beer garden. In the joint local plan, Bower House tie is classified as a hamlet, and that would mean that the kind of developments that would be acceptable would be small infills of either single detached dwellings or a pair of semi-detached dwellings, but that would be within the settlement boundary itself. This is the site location plan. The red line shows the site using the existing access point to the public house. The blue ownership line is actually incorrect and includes the public house and this land here. That isn't actually correct, and you will find a corrected plan in your addendum papers. It will also be shown on a later slide in this presentation. It is quite important to understand the land ownership when deciding this application. The applicant is the owner of the public house. He owns the access point only. The application site and further agricultural fields belong to a separate landowner. Members should bear in mind that planning permission is attached to the land, not the applicant, and that part of the development can be built out whilst other parts not coming forward. For example, the dwellings could be built out and the holiday cabins may not be built out. There are 2 listed buildings near to the site, both are grade 2 listed. We have Thatcher's house in this location here and Holmwood cottages, which are the nearest neighbours to the public house just here. This is the existing site layout showing the proposed access point through the pub car park and through the children's play area and into the field beyond. This just shows the visibility displays, and Suffolk County Council Highways have not objected to the application. This application has been received following pre-application advice and also a previous application that was withdrawn. It's for the same scheme of 6 dwellings and 5 holiday cabins. This shows the layout of the previous application, where the dwellings were filling this section of the field with the holiday cabins just around here. The previous application was withdrawn because heritage concerns were raised on the setting of the listed buildings of Holmwood cottages and Thatcher's house, as well as issues around sustainability. The scheme for the current application remains the same, but is located slightly south of the previous position. So the houses have been pushed down to be almost in line with the public house itself, taking it away from these listed buildings. The red line site has been divided into 2 sections, and you might be able to see this faint dotted red line that goes around the residential area. The The rest of the site is for a beer garden extension to the public house and the holiday cabins, parking area and a public recreation space just here. This area here that is in the hatched area has been defined as residential by the applicant, and this is to avoid an affordable housing contribution. This area of residential development falls just below 0.5 hectares and does not trigger affordable housing. To try and address heritage concerns, a woodland grove is proposed as a landscaping belt between the listed buildings and the development. In this area just here. However, the heritage team still have concerns as the morphology of the cluster of the existing dwellings in Bower House Tie is compromised by the separation of this development from the actual cluster within Bower House Tie. The development forms a bulge in the countryside which sticks out. This development is not considered to relate well to the existing Bower House Tie cluster. Less than substantial harm has been identified to the setting of the heritage assets. Public benefits of the scheme are very limited as there is no affordable housing contribution, and therefore public benefits are not considered to outweigh the harm. In terms of the holiday cabins, they would bring some public benefit to the local economy with provision of tourist accommodation and a small number of jobs. The argument has been made that the dwellings are required so that the landowner can hand over land for the holiday cabins to the public house, who owns the access point. This is an informal agreement that has no planning grounds, and because a planning permission benefits the land, it cannot be guaranteed that the development before you can be delivered as you see it on this plan. The only beneficiary would be the landowner, not necessarily the public house. To try and overcome issues of sustainability, an informal footpath through a wildflower meadow, which you may be able to see just in this area here, is quite faint, is being proposed, which would link to a public right-of-way to the west of the site. This is not considered to be acceptable to access day-to-day facilities in Boxford, particularly during wet and dark months of the year. The landscape officer has also had the same concerns as the heritage officer with the separation of the existing cluster from the proposed development. Concerns were also raised about the very suburban layout of the dwellings with this very straight and angular appearance. This conflicts with the locally distinctive character of Bower House Tie, which has a very loose pattern of development and is quite organic in the way that it's set out. Concerns were also raised by Environmental Protection about the extension of the beer garden in this location here and the proximity to the new dwellings. The pub has a quite unusual licence, which allows it to be open until 1:30 at the weekends and could cause disturbance to the residents of the proposed development. The applicant has stated that the dwellings would be for the over 55s. There is concern that the location, which is not well connected to amenities, is not a suitable place for older people to live. Residents, particularly as they get older, could feel quite isolated in this location. 4 3-bedroom bungalows are proposed and 2 2-bedroom bungalows. These are the drawings of the 2 bedrooms. And this is the drawings of the 3-bedroom bungalow. Each dwelling would have a single garage. Some are linked so that they have the appearance of a double garage, and some are single. 3 2-bedroom holiday cabins are proposed and 2 3-bedroomed cabins. Moving on to the photographs, this is from the access point, looking south towards the Boxford direction. This is looking north from the access point in the Hadley direction, and you can just see on the left of the picture there the bus stop, which is directly outside of the public house. This is looking into the public house car park with the children's play area. That you can just see some equipment just there. The access point to the field would just go through this area here. This is looking at the car parking area of the car park and the overflow area, which forms that pointed shape just at the bottom, the south of the site. This is the Brewers Arms Public House, and you can see the beer garden just here. The access point here on the right-hand side, which would cut across here and into the field beyond. This is the field from the access point through the play area, looking south towards the Boxford direction. This is looking in the opposite direction where the listed buildings are. So we have Thatcher's house in this creamy colour, and then Holmwood cottages are behind this hedgerow here. This area here is proposed as the woodland glade area. Again, you can just see Thatcher's house here and the area of the proposed woodland. This is just a closer shot of Thatcher's house. And you can see along the boundary the mature hedgerow and the mature trees. This shows the mature trees along the field boundary to the west of the site. This is a very large agricultural field of good quality soil and is very open in the landscape. This is the top of Holmwood cottages and the hedgerow. This is also Grade 2 listed. This is the closest neighbour to the public house. Just standing back a bit, so this is the listed cottages with the public house just to the right of the picture here. And so this area here would be the woodland glade area. You can see the Brewers Arms public house here, and the access point would be through here. So development would be from sort of this line and south, running south along the field. Again, the public house and the very large field. And this is the area proposed for the development. The application is considered to be inappropriate for new housing. Bower House Tie is a small cluster of dwellings that does not have a built-up area boundary and is therefore considered to be countryside. Development in this area is contrary to policy CS2 of the Babergh Core Strategy. Connectivity to nearest facilities would be in Boxford, which is a 2.5 kilometre walk along a 60-mile-an-hour road with no footpath. 2 refused applications for housing close to the site have been appealed, shown with the red dots. Both were dismissed on sustainability grounds. The site is outside of the settlement boundary in the joint local plan. Less than substantial harm has been identified by the heritage team because of harm to the setting of the listed buildings, but also the morphology of the cluster of Bower House Tie. The public house, the public benefits of 6 new dwellings added to the land supply, but no affordable housing contribution, does not outweigh the harm. The public benefits of the holiday lets supporting the pub cannot be guaranteed because the pub does not own the land. The pub does have space in its own land for 1 or maybe 2 holiday cabins without having to extend into the countryside. A case has been made that this application will help recovery from COVID restrictions on the business. However, the same scheme was brought forward in 2019 before the pandemic. It is noted from objectors that the pub has not been open at all during the last year and has done nothing to help itself with providing takeaway services or other services for local people. The pub has remained closed even though outdoor restrictions have been lifted at the current time. In terms of landscape harm, the development forms a bulge into the countryside, which you can clearly see from this drawing, which is detached from Babergh Tie and spatially does not sit comfortably within the landscape. The suburban layout of straight lines is not reflective of existing development, which has a much looser pattern of development in Babergh Tie. Babergh has an identified need for smaller lifetime dwellings. It is proposed that 6 bungalows would be for the over 55s. However, because of poor connectivity to services and amenities, it is likely that older people may find themselves isolated and lonely. Concerns of residential amenity for future residents has been raised by environmental protection. The proposed extension to the beer garden would share a boundary with some of the bungalows. The pub has a licence to serve until 1:30 AM at weekends. There is no guarantee that the scheme can be delivered in the way it has been presented because of the land ownership issues. There is a risk that dwellings would be allowed in a countryside location without the pub having any benefits. For these reasons, the application is recommended for refusal. Sustainability grounds, heritage harm, landscape harm, and potential harm to residential amenity for future residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha, for that full and detailed. Got an echo. Perhaps that's your plan.
Yeah, I'll take them down.
That's better, I think. No.
Sam, can I just suggest you turn off your mic and then the echo will probably go. Thank you, Chair.
Oh, that's better. It's not echo, and you don't want to hear me twice saying everything, do you, members? Right, members. You've heard the case presented by the case officer. Is there any points of clarification that you wish to ask her? It does seem, Samantha, quite messy from the ownership point of view. Can you just explain that a little bit again? Because quite often we have applications come forward from developers or applicants who want to build somewhere, and they've usually got I assume, a signed agreement with the owners that if they were fortunate enough to get plan permission, A, B and C would happen. Is this not the case?
To my knowledge, it's just a gentleman's agreement at the moment. So the landowner who owns the field requires access through the pub car park, which is a ransom strip effectively, in order to gain access to the land. So there is an agreement, but it is informal and there has no planning basis. To my knowledge, there is not any option to purchase the land by the applicant. But maybe this is something that Ian Dupre might be able to cast more light on.
I'll ask the solicitor, can you just come in? Can you help on that?
Yes, indeed. Obviously, planning law and land ownership are two separate issues, but then clearly sometimes maybe this is one such case where land ownership has a practical consequence for the delivery of a planning permission if the wish is to grant it, and obviously the recommendation is not to in this case. So that I think we would need to, if the discussion in committee took a certain turn, we might need to have regard to the practical issues that arise from this, the ransom strip situation that Sam has just described.
Thank you very much. I can't see any hands up. Can you see any, Claire?
Yes, I believe Councillor Parker has his hand up.
Right, thank you. Councillor Parker? Let me scroll
Yeah,
down.
thank you, Jay. Good morning. Sam, I wonder if I could could you just confirm for us, Sam, or otherwise, Mark, what is our current 5-year land housing supply position, please?
Yes, it is 6.64 years.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Right, I can see Councillor Dawson's hand that's up.
Yes, sorry, if you could just clarify this bit about the ransom, the access. Does this mean that the landowners, presumably wanting to use that as an access point for his tractors going into the agricultural land through this site? I mean,
No.
why would he want? Why would the landowner want access other than? Does that not seem rather?
Yeah. So
odd?
the access point would only be for the development itself. So for the 6 bungalows and for the 5 holiday cabins.
But didn't you, sorry, say that the landowner wants to maintain ownership, access rights? So presumably
No.
that is that what you said? Sorry.
No. So they only want access if the development goes ahead.
But if it goes ahead, does that mean the? Sorry. Does that mean?
I think. Can I help here? I think you're saying, can they continue this access to get to the field, the other side of this hatched area?
If it's built, why does the landowner want access through that site when it's built?
No, it's only into the site, I believe. Is that correct, Samantha?
Yes, that's correct. Is
not through that site onto his own land?
No, I would imagine that there is another access point for the agricultural field, which is an agricultural access.
So why does he want access onto that site?
He only wants access for the development itself.
Yes, why?
Well, it's the only way he can get to it if you look at the plan in front of you.
But why would the farmer who owns the land want to get onto that site?
Yeah,
okay. All right, no, don't worry. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Perhaps the
Councillor Hinton.
The agricultural access is too far away from the proposed development for it to be used. Because
so obviously,
he's obviously been using it because the field's been ploughed.
Yeah, but why would you, if you were the farmer, want to drive in there when that's being built?
Hang on, you're getting into debate.
Yeah, okay.
This is clarification. I think you could put this question to the applicant later on, Councillor Dawson.
Yeah.
My understanding is that the right of way is purely from the main road through the existing car park and then going into this new hatched area.
That is correct. There's no access through to the field beyond.
Right. Okay. Let me have a look. Where are we? Right. I don't know why my fins all come up coloured. Councillor Busby is next.
Yes, and the 2 appeals that were turned down, how recently were they?
One in 2018 and one in 2019.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I've got no other hands up, so I'm assuming there's no more questions for clarification. So if that's the case, we'll move on. And I'll now go to public speakers. We don't have the parish council, they've got no one present, but we have an objector to speak, Mr. Andrew Renshaw. You, sir, have 3 minutes in which to address the committee. If you'd like to turn your camera on and your microphone on, we haven't started the timer yet, so you're okay.
Sorry, Mr. We can start.
Can we get the screen? Can you take down your screen, Samantha? You're sharing it still. Right. No, I should. Right, I can now see you. And I think I can hear you. Councillor Dawson, can you just turn your camera off? Thank you.
Okay, do you wish me to start?
Yes, when you're ready, sir. You have
Okay,
3 minutes.
super. Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Andrew Renshaw. I'm a chartered surveyor and I've lived at Thatcher's House, a Grade 2 listed building, for the past 20 years. Our entire southern boundary abuts the proposed development. I must firstly say that I'm surprised we're considering this application today, given the fact that it does not comply with national, existing or emerging local policy, and the development would cause harm to 2 Grade 2 listed buildings. I speak on behalf of a number of residents of Bowhouse Tie, many of whom find the application complex and confusing. The application is made by the owner of the pub. However, with the exception of the accessway, the development is entirely on farmland owned by Mr. Keeble, a local builder. As stated by the planning officer, this approach significantly reduces the ability of the planning authority to ensure that the stated benefits to the development are achieved, such as the wooded area and wildflower meadow, as they're conveniently outside the red line of the development, do not form part of the application. My objection is for the following reasons. I do not consider the pub will close without these holiday cabins. The argument has been made for the last 2 years. I'm not aware of any other business initiatives the applicant has taken to enhance his business. The existing ensuite accommodation at the pub is only used infrequently by tradespeople. The applicant lives elsewhere. The pub has been closed all this year with no takeaway food service and remains closed until 19th May, despite having a large outside seating area. There is in fact room for 2 cabins on the applicant's land, and if sympathetically designed, I would have no objection to this. Finally, no viability assessment has been provided. Therefore, disregarding the smoke screen of the pub, we can focus on the proposed 6 dwellings, which is effectively a commercial development for profit in the countryside. Firstly, there's no housing need. Babergh has an excessive 5-year land supply. The development is not sustainable and is contrary to local national policies because you need to drive anywhere to the facilities of shops or health centre, etc. The late licence the pub enjoys makes the adjacent residential development inappropriate. Your own policy requires exceptional circumstances to justify development in the countryside. The proposed scheme has been described as being of an urban form, and the revised application proposed is now remote and isolated from the cluster of homes and is detrimental to the rural landscape. Therefore, there is no exceptional circumstances. I would also suggest that if the consent were granted, it would be an unhelpful precedent. 2 Grade 2 listed buildings will suffer harm and their rural context will be permanently lost. They'll also suffer a loss of amenity due to public recreation in the woodland. The mitigating measure of woodland together with the wildflower meadow are outside of the development boundary, and there's no certainty the pub will benefit from the holiday cabins as they too lie outside the ownership of the pub. In conclusion, I cannot see any valid reason to grant consent, but I can see many reasons to refuse consent, primarily your own existing...
Thank you, Mr. Renshaw.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just, if you stay there, I'll see if there's any questions from members to you.
Okay.
Members, have you got any questions you'd like to ask the objector? Councillor Parker.
Yeah, thanks again, Chair, and good morning, Mr. Renshaw. I'm just, if Chair will allow this, I'm not sure, but I'm just curious to know, Mr. Renshaw, when we're reading through the application, the support for the application seems to be quite solid. 55 letters of support, and unusually only 1 letter of objection, and this committee would quite often see completely the opposite of that, but nonetheless, that's the situation that we've got at the moment. So, I mean, even the parish councillors
your question to him.
Well, I suppose really I was just going to ask if it's possible, Mr. Jones. I was going to ask Mr. Renshaw's opinion of the fact that there is so much support for this, including the parish council.
Well, firstly, I'd say I don't think there's support from the parish council. They have not objected, so that's slightly different. You know, they are also. This is a confusing application, as one of your members would find it difficult to understand the access arrangements and things. It is odd because it's confusing to people. I'm a chartered surveyor, and
sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Renshaw.
It's complex. It's a complex.
Can you answer his question rather than?
I think a number of people are confused by the nature of the application, and they feel intimidated by the landowner. Many houses back onto land owned by Mr. Keeble, and they feel intimidated. I speak for a number of people, but we do not wish to come forward. There were more objections on the initial application, but as I say, people are confused and they feel intimidated.
Thank you. I think you've answered that. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Parker. Sorry to interrupt you there. The legal advisor was coming up there. Did you wish to make any comments?
It's all right, Chairman. I was just going to advise that I thought Mr. I'm very sorry. Is it Mr. Renshaw? Sorry, I can't just see Andrew on your photograph. I was just going to advise that Mr. Renshaw should be allowed to ask and answer the question in his own way, but he's done so. That's quite all right by me now. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. Any other questions for Mr. Renshaw? No, I can't see any hands up. Thank you. Then, Mr. Renshaw, we'll move on. We now have a supporter. Perhaps if you can turn your camera and mic off. Thank you. A supporter, Mr. Sean Davis. If you, sir, like to come turn your camera on and your microphone on. Okay. And you, sir, also have 3 minutes when you're ready.
Okay, good morning, members of the committee. My name is Sean Davis and I'm here to speak in support of the proposal. The Brewers Arms is a much-loved facility and one which the village cannot afford to lose. It is a village hub, not just providing a place for us to meet, eat and drink, but also a home for a number of local groups and clubs that would not survive without it. We all know that public houses are being lost on a daily basis, yet Mr. Marginson is seeking to ensure that this facility does not go the same way. You will see from the response from local residents that the risk of closure is very real and that some development to secure the facility is not unreasonable at all. I have followed the application closely and seen the excessive levels of support. Indeed, this application has unprecedented levels of support in the local community. This includes the support of the parish council, who recognise the potential loss of this asset to the village provides sound reason to permit this development to make sure the pub does not close, and 8 immediate support letters from neighbours and just 1 objection from the hamlet. I do understand the planning officer has a job to do and there are reasons for recommending refusal, but this is something that we simply cannot afford to happen. In my view, the weight to be given to securing the future of the pub outweighs all of the matters highlighted by the planning officer. I'm aware there is a balanced judgment to be made in making a decision on this proposal and urge you to give it the utmost weighting to securing the future of the pub. It really is critical at this community. The applicant and the landowner are willing to provide the necessary assurances through a legal agreement as to the delivery of the holiday accommodation and the woodland, and also the restriction of the dwellings to parties for over 55s. The application is supported by a list of 11 signatories of local people who have registered their interest in living at the proposed development, and these are all local people who meet the over 55s threshold, who wish to relocate here if the development goes ahead. I also endorse what the applicant has said about the bus service. This is actually the most accessible part of Polstead and the only Polstead bus stops, and they have recently been upgraded. The bus service provider has confirmed in writing that these are incredibly well-used stops. Many local residents use the car park to leave their vehicles whilst using the buses to Hadley and Sudbury because they're not wanting to drive to the town. The bus stops are right outside the site, and it cannot be denied that this is the most accessible part of Polstead in that regard. The development will deliver a small number of much needed homes. It will deliver holiday lets to support the pub and open up the access to the countryside. And the new woodland will also be a significant benefit to the landscape and would encourage ecology in the area. It is therefore my belief that the benefits of this proposal far outweigh any harm identified. Please support this development and help support this community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. I'll just see if there's any questions from members for you. Members, yes, there's a hand gone up. Councillor Mclaren, followed by Councillor Busby.
Good morning, Mr. Davis.
Hello.
Can you just explain to me, I'm a councillor of a ward, and all the pubs have sought to make use of the lifting of restrictions during what has been a terrible year for hospitality. Can you explain to me why the Brewers Arms, you think, has stayed shut during all these lifting of restrictions?
I've spoken to the owner, and the reasoning behind it, they opened at every opportunity they could with indoors. But the outdoor offering is just the amount of waste that I believe they've had this year. The outdoor offering is no good at all. They will open as soon as they can with indoor offering. It creates waste, and it's not viable with the overheads of the business and extra staffing for that sort of thing. And I know that they tried takeaway service for 2 or 3 weekends, and it just wasn't viable. So, but you would have to speak to Mr. Marginson but that's my understanding on it. I know that they want to open, but it's just not. It's a case of viability and waste, and with the waste they've already had, it's just not a viable option here at Babergh House Tie. It's not a big drinking pub. It is an eating pub, and with the weather and everything else, I just don't think it would work for them.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr.
Okay,
Davis.
Councillor Busby.
Thanks. Yes, Mr. Davis, you mentioned the words unprecedented levels of support from locals.
Yep.
Why do you think, therefore, that the pub's future will be dependent on half a dozen holiday cabins and a few bungalows? If that level of support already.
As I said, I'm not the owner. You would have to speak to him, but I do know that support for the pub. It is a very busy pub, but it is also, I think, the overheads and everything else that are going up. It's another tie to the bow to try and keep the place going. Another income stream, if you like, rather than trying to build on a car park and sell off a house or something silly like that. It's something to sustain the future of the pub rather than chopping bits off and getting rid of bits and that sort of thing. So. But again, Mr. Marginson would have to answer anything else. I wouldn't have a clue, really.
Thank you. Councillor Hinton.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Davis, just a quick one concerning, you say that the bus companies say that the bus stop is very popular and is used quite extensively. What are the timings of the buses along that route? When do they start in the mornings and when do they finish in the evenings?
I believe they start from around 8 o'clock before school time and they finish around 5:30. They have been, they're not as often as they were because since the COVID outbreak, there was obviously no one using the buses, but I believe they are hoping to get back to the more regular service. But as for times, I think it's every hour and a half or every hour and 45 minutes.
With the bus finishing at 5:30, then effectively the residents would all be on an early evening curfew. Well,
yes, that's the bus service in Suffolk, as far as I'm aware.
Thank you. There's no other hands up, so I should take that there's no other questions for you. Thank you, Mr. Davis. We'll move on. Perhaps you'll turn your mic and camera off, and we'll move to the applicant, Mr. Mitch Marginson. You, sir, also have 3 minutes in which to address the committee, and then I'll see if there's any questions afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can't see you that well. We've only got your eyes.
Only got my eyes? Okay.
Yeah. That's better. There, that's perfect.
Okay, good morning, Chairman and members. This application has been recommended to be put in front of you today by Philip Isbell, the Chief Planning Officer. This is a unique application offering a wide spectrum of benefits recognised and supported by many and demonstrated by the amount of supporting statements. This application is to secure the viability of the Brewers Arms, to secure and increase on-site employment, increase tourism to the area and tourist spend, to continue supporting the Polstead campsite, which has no hospitality facilities, to continue charity support and bottle bank, in a well-placed, good location supported by highways, all supporting this valuable community hub, providing a social well-being with home darts, cribbage and quiz teams. This application includes a total of 6 small low-level bungalow dwellings enclosed within the scheme to the rear of the Brewers Arms, aimed at over 55 to downsize an opportunity to remain within the parish in a small community of like-minded people of similar age. The sale of this proportion of the scheme, shown by the red dotted line within, will generate the income required to pay for the land and scheme to be achieved and delivered swiftly. Whilst I understand the dwellings initially appear to be outside planning policy for being outside the settlement boundary, have been designed sympathetically, discreetly and enclosed to the rear of the Brewers Arms and behind the on-site living accommodation and bed and breakfast accommodation to protect and provide a buffer from any bar or restaurant disturbance. I have been at the Brewers Arms independent owner operator since 2007. And to put this into some perspective, the industry is fragile and was before the pandemic, with rising costs and continually smaller margins. Time has been running out on the viability. A statement from my accountant has been applied to the application on the portal. The pandemic has furthermore increased debt, and now without economic growth and an additional income stream, the Brewers Arms will be lost. Lost to commercial office, car sales, retail units or housing. The design and proposal adds to the current offering. I am not asking to alter or build on the car park or the beer garden. I am asking for approval to complement and improve the offering. With a proposal that has an overwhelming level of 55 supporting statements, includes 8 Bower House Town neighbouring local residents, including the nearest affected homeowner, in a sustainable location with regular bus service on the doorstep, local taxi services and on-site charging points for future-proofing and the use of electrical vehicle encouragement, whilst being well placed for a modern day home delivery services. I hope I have demonstrated the exceptional amount and overwhelming benefits this proposal will bring, and great sadness if lost. To conclude, I quote the Babergh Chief Economics Officer, who stated, "I appear very focused on investing in the future of the business and doing everything I can to sustain the future as a vital village asset." Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Members, is there any questions or clarifications that you wish to put? Councillor Ayres.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello and good morning. I was just wondering, thinking about the staff, how many staff do you employ? Are they local staff? Have they been furloughed? What's been happening?
Okay, we have 15 staff.
Right.
They come from Boxford, Polstead, White Street Green and Hadley, all local people. They have been on furlough during the period of closure. And at this time, I understand, are seeking to return when back to normality, or from when we can reopen the inside of the building to offer full offering of service.
Right, thank you. And thank you very much, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Chair. I'll get straight to the point this time. Mr. Martin, good morning. Support for this application, Mr. Martin, is predicated upon the survival of the Brewers Arms pub, predominantly. So, given that Mr. Keeble is actually the landowner, how does the erection of 6 private dwellings help sustain the business of the Brewers Arms?
That will fund the landowner is prepared to offer the land to support the Brewers Arms when if the application gets accepted. On that way, the development within the red dotted line, the bungalow development, will be sold to a developer, which will have the access through my entrance to provide funding for the 5 holiday lodges to be an income stream to the Brewers Arms, with the again accommodation of the residents that then of the holiday lodges will also then be able to eat at the Brewers Arms.
Can I ask a second, Mr. Chair?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so if that being the case, going back to the officer's comments, is there a legal agreement in place to make that happen right now? Is there or not?
There is not a legal agreement right now. It has been offered. It's been offered to be completed to ensure that the whole development goes ahead as a whole. Without the access, without the holiday lodges, the access just doesn't become available because that supports my viability.
Okay, so there's no legal agreement in place. That's what I needed to know, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other hands up? No. Thank you. Mr. Martin, if you'd like to turn your camera and mic off, we'll move on. We now go to the ward member, Councillor John Ward. You, sir, have 5 minutes in which to address the committee. If you'd like to turn your camera and mic on.
Yeah.
We can hear you. We can't see you at the moment.
You should be able to see me now. It was just taking a while
yes,
to
that's right.
respond.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Chairman. This is an application for the construction of holiday cabins and bungalows at the Brewers Arms, Polstead. I will start by saying that I'm sure you're all aware now that it is a difficult application. It has come before the committee today because there is a controversial element to it, and it has significant planning considerations that need to be addressed in an open debate. As you have heard, the pub needs to improve its offering to remain viable, and the provision of additional accommodation in the form of holiday cabins is being proposed. It is a good local business with established pub teams and draws clientele from a wide area, as well as visitors from the nearby caravan park. The applicant, Mr. Marginson, has agreed to acquire land from the neighbouring landowner, Mr. Keeble, for this purpose. However, in order to finance the project, the applicant has also included 6 bungalows for open market sale, ideally for over 55s wishing to downsize. This is a controversial part of the application, as I'm sure you understand. You will know that we have economic development policies that refer to the need to safeguard the future of local businesses and strengthen the economy. SAVE policies EM01 and EM20 are unequivocal on this. The 2014 core strategy is also clear on the need and benefit of economic growth and talks of strengthening the rural economy. CS17 states that sustainable tourism and leisure-based businesses must be encouraged. Mr. Marginson is committed to the future of this business. I think we all recognise how difficult the past year has been, particularly for the hospitality sector, and pubs everywhere have adopted a variety of approaches to revitalise their businesses. In this case, the cabins have been identified as the means for this pub to survive and grow, although, as you have heard, this has been challenged. However, it is undeniable that dwellings, that is the bungalows, in this location are not supported by policies in the MPPF, the core strategy, or the emerging JLP, and this is the basis for the refusal recommendation. The applicant has stated that they are necessary to make the project viable, and it is this that is at the heart of whether there is a proven, justifiable need for which an exceptional circumstance can be made, as defined in CS2. The site has been moved further away from neighbouring residences since the previous application, and landscaping, tree and wildflower planting are proposed to mitigate the impact on nearby heritage assets and the local ecology, although there are still objections relating to these and other aspects. There are, as you've heard, a number of letters in support of the application that focus on the economic case, but equally there is local opposition, expressing concern about the conflict with our policies that relate to countryside development and also reiterating the heritage and ecological objections. Clearly, if approved, conditions would need to be imposed to resolve the land ownership matter prior to development, which has been addressed already this morning. And also the cabins will need a residency restriction to ensure that they're not permanently occupied. If the application is not approved in its present form, then I'm sure that the applicant will work with the local community to see if a consensus can be reached on the way forward. The NPPF is clear about the desirability of this. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ward. Members, have you got any questions for the ward member? No.
Sorry.
Sorry.
So I don't know, John.
Hang on a minute. I've got Councillor Hinton followed by Councillor Dawson. Okay. Councillor Hinton.
I thought ladies came first, but not to worry. I'm sure
your hand went up first, so I was normally I would go ladies first, but anyway.
Yes, Councillor Ward, you mentioned a couple of times during the course of your address there sustainability. How would you say that these dwellings or proposed dwellings and holiday lodges are sustainable?
I was referring to the sustainability of the business, not to the actual bungalows themselves. That obviously is a separate planning issue concerning dwellings in a particular location and whether that should be considered sustainable or not. But I was talking about particularly the business sustainability and viability.
Okay. So you've used two abilities there. Sustainability of the pub is not really one of our concerns. Viability may be a consideration, but sustainability is not if it's contrary to our policies elsewhere.
I think the member has a right to different points of view.
No, I'm sorry. There wasn't a question. I mean, I'm not disputing what Councillor Hinton said.
Thank you. Right, Councillor Dawson.
Yes, I just wondered, Councillor Wood, so could you just confirm the officers, obviously their recommendation? I'm unclear, as this, you said it's in conflict with the policy CN01 of the Babergh local plan and CS11 and CS15 of the core strategy. Am I correct in understanding you're supporting the officer's recommendation in this for refusal?
I'm supporting the fact that the business needs to do something to help it improve and grow. I think in terms of how that's done and whether that's this is the right way, that's for you to determine, Councillor Dawson.
Yes, but in this instance, obviously this is your ward. Are you supporting the officers or not?
I think I'm going to come in there, Councillor Ward. I think that's a little bit unfair, because Councillor Ward did say that if this wasn't successful, he would hope that they would continue to talk and see whether there was an area where he could find other avenues or room to discuss it. So I think he's saying the reasons why he can see for it, but he can also, I think he's saying it from both points of view.
Exactly. Exactly, and I have to do
you
that.
Must. I can see it from both points of view, but you must have an opinion, as it's your ward.
I don't want the pub to fail, but equally, we need to find a way forward that will allow it to succeed, that conforms with planning policies.
Thank you. I think the legal wants to come in.
It may not be necessary. I was just going to say it's sometimes a ward councillor who's not a voting member of the committee attends by invitation and expresses a strong view for or against. It's also perfectly proper for them to make some points and say it is up to the committee to decide. And I've said what I've said.
Yeah, I think that's what he said, and I think Councillor Dawson is now aware of that. Any other questions from members? No, no other hands up, Councillor Ward, so we'll move on. Thank you. Members, we now go to debate. So I will now open it up for debate. Is there, who would like to start? I can't see any hands. Right, Councillor Parker. I was just about to go to Councillor Ayres as being the alphabetical order. Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just how to start the debate, Chair. Really, on this one, I think personally.
Can I just come in? Sorry, Councillor Parker. You're echoing an awful lot. I don't know whether you've gone to a different room or you've locked yourself in a cupboard or what.
I'm in a shed, Councillor. That's
why.
Well,
our MP works from a shed, I'm told.
Well, I'm not in his shed, I can assure you. So no,
company.
What I was going to say, Chairman, is that I think the holiday, the bungalows. Sorry, what is it we're talking about? The holiday cabins. I think in principle, those are actually not a bad idea, and I understand how they might be supporting the business, but. The 6 dwellings, I have to say, Chair, I'm at a complete loss about, in all honesty, and at the moment I concur wholeheartedly with the officer's recommendation on that, and not because I don't dislike the principle of development at all. We don't, it's our job is to facilitate where it's appropriate. But the problem with this application is that it is contrary to our current core strategy. It is contrary to the forthcoming joint local plan. It is in an unsustainable location. It's outside of the built-up area boundary. And in short, it's contrary to everything that we've planned for. There's no guarantee it can be delivered. So to my mind, Chair, unfortunately, in this example, I just don't think there's any justification for this application. If we were to support this application, we may as well just tear up our joint local plan and everything that we've been working for the last few years. So I'm afraid it's regrettable, but at the moment that is the position that I'm at, Chairman. I'll be interested to hear the comments of my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, yes, I think you're it's very true what you're saying regarding the holiday lets buildings. You can see a reason for them, but most of the other points, I'm inclined to agree with you. Councillor Ayres.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I agree with Councillor Parker, and yes, far more people are going to holiday in the UK because of COVID and all the restrictions. So I think the holiday homes would be lovely. But again, I am rather worried about the bungalows, although as you and I like bungalows, that they would be good. But the other thing that wasn't mentioned is about, would these bungalows be homes for life? Would there be any special, as in no steps or wet rooms, as it's for the over 55s, which hasn't been addressed? And I would like disabled facilities to be in the holiday lets as well. So if we could, we haven't got the developer here, have we? But they're two questions that I'd like to have answers to.
I'll ask the officer if she can help there, but I would think if we were minded to approve it, they were conditions we could put on. But Samantha, can you help answer that question to Councillor Ayres?
Yeah, so some of that is probably already covered under building regs in terms of the dwellings, so wide access points, ramps up to front doors, that kind of thing. In terms of the holiday lets, it probably doesn't have the same restrictions, so that would have to be looked at separately. The thing that you do have to bear in mind that this is one application, so, and this has been my point all the way through the pre-app, through the previous application and throughout this application, that the holiday lets are probably fine, but the housing is not fine. So in terms of making a decision on the application, it has to be done as a whole. So if there's one aspect of it that is not acceptable, I'm afraid it does have to be a refusal.
It's all or nothing. Yeah.
All or nothing.
Thank you. Wait a minute, I've got Councillor Mclaren next.
Cool. Sorry, Chair, I was having difficulty with the technology.
We all have that, I'm afraid.
My comments are similar to Councillor Parker and Councillor Ayres, but this business about over 55s sounds reasonable. Over 55s might be able-bodied and able to drive, but over 55 can mean anything up to 100. And I think for potential owners of the properties, they would be very isolated, and in the event of their health deteriorating, I think it is the wrong place for people of that age to be located, because people's health does deteriorate, however able-bodied they are when they move into a property. But the holiday lets, I've no problem with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Dawson?
Yes, I would concur with all the other three. I mean, I must say, I would be very concerned about putting an elderly person in those developments. I mean, they would be totally isolated. And also, it's the issue about the, I mean, I know the pub area very well. I pass it regularly, and I've been there. And it's all the idea with the big beer garden in the back garden. You know, if you're living in one of those dwellings, I should think that if to someone who's living, if they were built, it wouldn't really work. But I just don't think there's any benefit for the occupants. I don't think there is also for the surrounding hamlet. I think Mr. Andrew Renshaw was very eloquent in his argument. You know, there's no benefit it's not really in keeping for the surrounding areas. And whilst there is an argument for the cabins, you know, there is actually across the road a very large caravan park that's very discreetly hidden. It is successful. So in my view, I don't think there's even a view for the caravans for that. And I think the only people who are really going to benefit from this are the landowner and the pub. But I think taking into account the policy the occupants, the surrounding hamlet. In my view, I think Ms Summers' argument that far outweighs it. So, you know, I agree with the recommendation for refusal, sadly.
Thank you. Councillor Plum.
Thank you, Chair. I hope you can see me okay.
Yes.
I think we're getting to the stage where I do not like being blackmailed into giving planning permission for bungalows on this basis, and that's what I'm feeling at the moment. That you know, we're being held, and so I would like now at this stage to recommend the officer's decision of refusal, and I would make that proposal at this stage.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Parker, your hand is up.
Yeah, I think that's entirely appropriate, Chair. I'll second the Councillor Plum's proposal.
Good, thank you. Any other comments? No other hands up. So I will, then we've had a proposal and a seconder to accept the officer's recommendation. And it's on the papers in front of you. Right, I'll go to Claire, the officer. Can you take us through to the voting? Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Chair. So members, if you once again in your ModGov app, select the plus sign on the top right hand corner.
Sorry, just to interrupt you there. Do I need to ask the planning officer to read out the recommendation, or are you all happy that you've got it on the paperwork in front of you? I'm taking that's okay. Yes, carry on, Claire.
Okay, thank you. I will just confirm it's the application DC 20-04417 be refused as detailed in the officer recommendation. So if you go to the plus sign in your ModGov app, select attendance and voting, then select voting, and this item should now show in light blue and read in progress.
Oh, sorry. I've voted against, and that's that. Yes, I suppose so I should be voting for, shouldn't I?
If you a vote for would be for refusal of the recommendation.
Yes, that's
Chair.
what I wanted to do.
Okay, in that case, if I could, I'll confirm that verbally with yourself.
Yep. Yep.
So that's a vote for from Councillor Beer, which means it's 10 votes for refusal.
Thank you. The blue bit, there was a something, a flyer came up on the screen just at that moment, and that pushed me arrow over.
Okay.
I can stop those happening when this is going on. Right, now I've got to close this. Right, I've got to come down there. Right, I'm back on the main screen now. So that's decided, members. We'll move on to item 6B, which is the Warden's Office, Sheltered Hose and Long Melford, on page 31. All right. And I'll ask the case officer, which I'll get to in a moment. Sarah Scott to take us through this. Sarah, if you'd like to connect up.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I will just share my screen with everybody. Are you seeing my screen?
No, not at the moment. Mine's gone all yellow for some reason, but hopefully it will sort itself out. No, just got the,
Does that look better?
Yes, you're there. That's fine.
Lovely, thank you. Good morning, members. I'd like to present the full planning application for a change of use and conversion of the Warden's Office / guest room to form one unit of accommodation at Steeds Meadow in Long Melford. So the item is brought before committee due to the applicant being Babergh and Mid Suffolk District Councils. The site was built in 1985 and currently has 37 units of accommodation. The site is owned by Babergh District Council. So this is the aerial plan. You can see that the building is an L shape and it is located within the residential area of Long Melford. Again, the constraints map shows the main road through Long Melford with listed buildings either side. The purple area here is the conservation area. The application site is adjacent to the conservation area but not within. This again is a picture of the site location. So the grey area here is the unit to be converted. You can see within the red line there is an area here for parking, and the amenity space for the residents goes around the outside. This is the existing elevations. As you can see, there are 2 windows and a garage door, an up and over door. So when this was used as the Warden's Office, this would be the designated parking area for the Warden. So the main change to the external appearance is just to remove the up and over door and replace it with a window which matches in with the other 2. So here we have the existing floor plans. You can see the carport in this area here and the lobby. This is the guest room / office and a WC here. This area here is currently used for the communal kitchen, which links into the communal sitting room just over here on the left. The accommodation will be able to link with the main corridor of the accommodation. So the proposed floor plans, I think the main issue here, or the main change here, is that they're going to slice a piece of the kitchen, the communal kitchen, to create a wet room. And the up and over door here you can see has been changed to a window, which will allow the carport to become kitchen / living space. I've put the 2 plans on the same slide so that you can see the slight changes that will occur internally. This is a picture from the outside. So this window here is the current window for the communal kitchen. This is I suppose the bedroom / office, and obviously the garage door. You can see it in its context with the rest of the building here. So this is the parking area. There are no lines within the parking area at the moment, but these will be demarcated just so that there are extra spaces. I think it would include 1 extra space, which will take away, allow for the removal of this parking bay. Within this area, there are scooter storage and bin storage. This is the view from the main street, Caudle Road, into the site. You can see the accommodation along the back. This is the Royal British Legion building here, and I believe this is a medical centre here. The recommendation is approval with 4 conditions as shown here. And that's everything. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Members, is there any points of clarification that you'd like to ask the case officer? Councillor Hinton, I can see you've got your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, again, a fairly logical development on these sites in lieu of what's been going on with COVID, etc. So I have no problems with the proposals as such. The question that I brought up at the last time we had one of these was, which I think was in Bilderston, was the question of within the papers where it talks about applicant and reasons for reference to the committee. This is not owned or operated by Mid Suffolk District Council. It's operated by Babergh District Council, and therefore the council-owned site and applicant is the council, namely Babergh. The only thing that we've joined together with the two councils has been the workforce and, if approved, the local plan. In every other respect, we're separate constitutional entities, and certainly the property rights of our social housing or council housing has not been handed over to Mid Suffolk.
You've made this point before, and I assume you're going to get the same answer. Sarah, can you answer, or Mark?
Okay, the site is owned by Babergh District Council. I suppose the applicant, when putting in the application, put Mid Suffolk. Maybe that's the council that he currently works for. I don't know. I can't answer that any further.
Thank you.
Chair, my name is Glenn Allen. I'm the building surveyor who put forward the application. Can I answer this point, please?
Yes, please. Yes.
Sarah is indeed correct. I am an employee of Mid Suffolk District Council, although, as Councillor Hinton rightly points out, this, in effect, we work as one council in terms of administration, although we remain separate in terms of being two individual councils. The applicant was put in as my name specifically for the reason that I work for Mid Suffolk, and that was the logical thing to do. The application is made on behalf of Babergh, but it's made by me as a Mid Suffolk employee. And in fact, planning rules allow any person to make an application on somebody else's behalf. That doesn't prohibit that. At the end of the day, the building is, as the council points out quite correctly, owned by Babergh, and that is who it's being done for.
I'm quite sure that Councillor Hinton is aware of that, and he's made the point that it is Babergh. I think you've cleared that up. Thank you. Councillor Busby.
Yes, Sarah, could you go back to the slide which shows the layout of the new?
Is this one the floor plan?
So the existing communal kitchen is going to remain as part of a communal kitchen for the.
Yes, it will just be sort of separated here to allow for a wet room for the unit, but this part of the communal kitchen will remain as communal kitchen.
Okay, I think
for the common room, which this door takes you into the communal common room, which is just here. So this is the communal kitchen.
Right. Okay, so they're not losing any facilities.
No, apparently this area of the kitchen was underused, so it was felt that it would be better used as part of this accommodation.
How convenient. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Osborne.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just clarification from Sarah, please. This isn't going to be anything to do with temporary housing accommodation. It is purely for sheltered accommodation. Am I correct with that?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, we have transformed some of the FIRS, which is in Sudbury, into temporary accommodation. I haven't got no problem with any of this. I think it's something that is needed, and obviously I agree with the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, we're not quite there yet, Councillor Osborne. Public speakers. Long Melford Parish Council. I'm not sure whether they're present. And
Chair, I can confirm we don't have a representative from the parish council or an objector or a supporter, and neither of the ward members are here. And I believe Officer Glenn Allen only wanted to speak to answer questions. He doesn't actually need to speak. Yeah. I don't know if you could confirm that for me, please, Glenn.
Yes, we've done that.
Yes, I can confirm that I'm here really to answer technical questions, although if a slightly fuller representation is required, then I'm happy to make that.
Right. So there's questions. So do we have any other public speakers?
No, we don't, Chair.
None at all. So
No.
we go down with a no ward member.
Nope.
Right, so we get to debate. So I'll open it up. Who would like to start? I think it's quite straightforward, this. No one's doing anything. Well, I think from the chair, I'll move the officer's recommendation. Councillor Plum, you've got your hand up. I'll come to you.
Thank you, Chair. All I was going to propose it, but as you've already proposed it, I'll second it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Plum. Right. I'll now go to the officer, and you'll take us through the electronic vote.
Thank you, Chair. So, members, this
I can see there's a Glenn Allen on my screen.
Yes, that's the officer.
Right, sorry. Yep, that's fine.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so the vote is that application DC 2100110 be approved as detailed in the officer recommendation. Members, if you go to your ModGov app, go to the plus sign in the top right-hand corner and select attendance and voting, then select attendance. The vote is now in progress in a light blue colour.
Yep, that's right.
Thank you.
And please don't any fly-ups come on the screen. Right, I've got that now. Is that one?
Are you saying a fly is controlling your voting pattern?
No, those little flying things that keep coming on the screen telling you things. I forget the right word for them.
Pop-up.
Pop-up, that's it. And the last time I'd got the thing up and that pushed my cursor thing across and it went on the wrong one. Right, so this was 4. Confirm.
Thank you, Chair. That's 10 votes for.
Well done.
It's approved.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick point. The previous application, we had 10 in favour. This one, we've had 10 in favour. There are more than 10 people on the committee, but we had no apologies for absence. So why is there a difference?
We have apologies from Councillor Owen, Councillor Hinton.
Right. I missed that.
There's 11 of us.
I missed that.
No, that's fine. This is technology, Councillor Hinton, isn't it? Right, then we'll move on to the next item, which will be on page 37, and it's officer is Jasmine Wynard, and it's at Hadley South. This is a display advertisement. Perhaps, Mr. Allen, you can turn your camera off. Thank you. And Councillor Dawson, you can turn yours off. And I'm looking for Jasmine.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and good morning, members. I'll just share my screen for you, so just give me a second. Right, can you all see my screen and my mouse as well?
Yes.
Brilliant. So this application is before the committee today, as it is a council application again. I'll be presenting case reference DC 2100813, which is for the Hadley Pool and Leisure site located at Stonehouse Road in Hadley. The proposal is for the consent to display adverts in the form of lettering and 5 panelled signs. Here we have the site in context. So the site is circled in red. We've then got orange arrows which show the separation distances between the site and the nearest neighbouring dwellings. The site is accessed off of Stonehouse Road just to the east here, and to the north you have George Street. To the east you have a mixture of dwellings and a primary school just over here. To the north, south and west, again you've got more dwellings. And immediately surrounding the site is open space, which is associated with the site. Then we have the constraints map. So again, the site is just shown by this hatched area. It's within the Hadley conservation area, which is shown by this purple. You've then got several nearby listed buildings, both grade 2 and grade 2 star listed, which is shown by the orange and red blocks over here. There's also a public right-of-way running south-east of the site, which is shown by the green sort of dashed line over here. So in terms of site history, in 2018, there were several extensions and works approved as part of refurbishment of the building, which have since been primarily completed. This application solely seeks to add adverts to the site as sort of a final stage of those works. So just for context, here are the two relevant elevations that were approved in 2018 under that previous permission relating to the extensions. The red circles show where the proposed adverts would be located this time, which I'll show sort of in further detail in later slides. It's worth noting that the Brise Soleil over on this top plan has already been approved. And the application before you today solely relates to putting a design onto that approved Brise Soleil, so it's already there. Then you've also got the bottom plan, which shows the composite lettering and where that would be located by that red circle there as well. So in terms of the proposed elevations, again, you can see that you've got the previously approved Brise Soleil here, which the design I'll show you in the next slide. And then you've got the bottom plan again shows the composite lettering and sort of its position and depth and height, which again relates to Hadley Pool and Leisure. So the proposed Brise Soleil advert panels are modest and have a theme that is well related to the activities carried out on site, as you can see. There are 5 panels in total, which are sort of subdivided into halves so that each half has one word on it. The proposed composite lettering is modest again in appearance. It's dark grey in colour. It would be illuminated, but this would be externally by a wall wash light at the top of this wall, just along here, which would shine downwards onto the letters and would be time controlled to reduce any impact on neighbouring amenity and unnecessary electricity usage. So the recommendation is therefore to approve this advertisement consent subject to the conditions within the committee report. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Members, have you got any questions for Jasmine? Councillor Dawson?
Am I right? Sorry, my understanding is from this is the lighting is only going to be coming on when it sort of starts to get dark, and you alluded to the contrary to that.
Can you clarify, Jasmine, please?
Yeah, sorry if there was any confusion there. No, you're completely right. It's only coming on when it starts to get dark. So it's primarily off, obviously, during the night when it's not when the site isn't in operation, basically. And it would be time controlled in order so that it comes on automatically and sort of closes off automatically.
So, sorry, if I can just come back. I mean, my understanding is, because there's been quite a lot of controversy, obviously, about this in Hadley, is that if it gets dark at, say, 9 or 10, that's when the lights are going to come on, isn't it?
It will come on, but it will be in accordance with when the lights come on in the adjacent car park. So it will run sort of at the same time as that. And although, yes, obviously it gets dark at different times of the year, it will only be for the purposes necessary for, you know, people going in and out of the site. And it won't be any further lighting and, you know, light pollution than what is already there in terms of the street lights in the adjacent car park.
Thank you.
Yes, and also if I could just, sorry, come at the second question. Am I correct in saying this is in a conservation area?
Yeah, yes, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, is there any other questions? I can't see any other hands. Councillor Hinton.
Yes, just a quick one. Brise Soleil is obviously, well, it sounds French, so obviously it's a leftover from Norman times. But are those panels illuminated, or are they just painted panels that are put up in that location?
Thank you, Councillor Hinton. Yeah, they are completely unilluminated. They are just basically the lettering and the design that's going on them. The only light that you would see sort of coming from that direction would be any light that's emitted from the actual building itself, not from the brise soleil.
Thank you. Right, Councillor Busby.
You've shown us the brise soleil and the panels independently. Have you got a picture where they're together?
Unfortunately, there wasn't anything submitted which shows them together. But I suppose if I go back to, just so you can sort of see it again, just bear with me. So as you can see, there's sort of these 5 distinct panels, which then match up to the 5 panels here. So where they're sort of halved in the centre, that's basically where these are halved, but they form one panel as a whole. It's just for the purposes of the design, as you can see, it's sort of split for each of the letters, basically, well, the words even.
Sorry, can you go back to the previous slide?
Yeah.
So is it me being thick? You're saying that they're going to go over the brise soleil, or are they going in these white boxes beneath them?
So, sorry, it's these little bits here. That's the brise soleil, which is where that artwork is basically going.
So why are we covering it over?
I'm not sure if Kate might be able to answer that, as she's sort of been quite involved in the project.
Kate, can you help us?
Sorry, I've just literally joined, Peter. Sorry, no. Councillor, can we just repeat the question for me? Sorry, so I know what I'm answering. Thank you.
Why are we covering the brise soleil up with these panels?
No, they're not. The panels are the brise soleil. There's no panels covering the brise soleil.
Well, what's slide 7 then, if it's not a panel?
Slide 7. Sorry, I've not seen. So those are that is the brise soleil. Those panels are the brise soleil. That's the image that will be the brise soleil.
Can you just clarify where that is on slide 6?
Yep. So where thank you, Jasmine.
All of them are in that first little part.
Yes, so there's 5 of them.
Right.
So there's 5 of them. So the image, sorry, I keep moving my calendar. The images are those 5 panels. That is the brise soleil. They're not panels in sense of being covered. That is the image. Obviously, it's not the image that we're having, but Jasmine's tried to demonstrate the image of that where it would be. Does that make sense?
So there's nothing there at the moment?
No, and we need it for the glare, particularly around the glare through from the sunlight. Into the pool as well. So 1 is obviously going to be aesthetically pleasing, but 2, there is an issue around the glare into the pool around sunlight and things. Sorry.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. There's no more hands up.
Yes.
Oh, yours is right, Councillor Dawson. Yes.
Sorry,
no, I could see it.
So if I can come back for clarification on this again, I'm not against the brise soleil per se. You know, I understand when you're swimming up and down, one needs that. The issue with this, and I wonder if you can clarify this, is it's the fact that it's 20. Basically, this is going to end up being a 20-metre long advertising hoarding that is lit up at night. That is but we can't separate. Can we have the brise soleil without the lighting? Because my understanding is we can't with this, or can we?
So the brise soleil is completely unilluminated.
Yes, but in this, one of the main objection is at night you're going to be switching on lights, and we're going to have this 20-metre panel that's going to be, you know, seen for miles around.
I think
that's the understanding of it. This is going to be, I think that's so
we're losing you, Councillor Dawson. In fact, we have lost you.
May I respond, Councillor Beer?
Yes.
The brise soleil is not illuminated at all. The illumination is to do with the sign saying, I think the sign for the centre itself. So the brise soleil itself, it doesn't have any illumination whatsoever. It's aesthetically pleasing, but also to help with the glare. The lighting that they're referring to regarding illumination, that's to do with the sign, and that will be in line with the street lighting that's already in the car park in timings.
So will the lighting inside the swimming pool area be shining through there?
Sorry, Chair. It's Claire. Can I just confirm that we have Councillor Dawson back? Because if she
Yes,
was
so I've
missing
come back in
anything,
again. Yes.
did you miss anything there, Councillor Dawson?
I did
Because I need you
actually,
to.
yes.
Okay, so if Kate could repeat her last reply, just so that Councillor Dawson's got all of the information.
Of course. So the breeze slate itself will not be illuminated. There will obviously be lights in the swimming pool when the swimming pool's on, but it won't be officially illuminated with specific lights for the breeze slate. The illumination will be is attached to purely the signage for the centre, which will be with timings as the car park lighting is. So it won't be any additional lighting that already happens in that location.
No, but the point is, if I may, sorry, is the general objection is people don't want this light, this panel, which is separate. The lighting is separate to the car park. I mean, people moan about the car park, but you've got to have lighting there. But it's the idea that at sort of 8 or 9 o'clock at night that the lighting comes on.
But that's inside the building.
We don't know. No, it's my understanding is it's like an advertising hoarding. This, isn't it? It's going to be coming on at night to advertise when actually nobody goes swimming after 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. And whilst it's on a timer, the point, I mean, could we do it? Could I suggest then that it's done where it's not illuminated?
Let's get answers to your questions first. We need to clear up this point that they're not illuminated, that the lights are only on inside the building. Is that correct, Kate?
In regards to the breeze slate, yes, that's correct. The breeze slate does not have its own illumination at all. It'll only be if the swimming pool is on that you would have light coming from the building, as you already do have.
Yes, but at night time, this is misleading. At night time, you're going to be having a 20-metre. If the lights are turned on all night.
Sorry, Councillor Dawson, I'll let you come in on those points, but when we get into debate.
Okay.
Because that's been clarified, so we've got to accept that it's already there, that the lights are inside the building, not illuminating the signs. So you can pick that point up in debate, and then the officers can answer it. I've still got 2 hands up: John Hinton, Councillor Hinton, and Councillor Busby. Is that correct?
Yep.
Right.
Thank you very much. Am I going to?
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, as I understand it, then the question of illumination is relative to the Hadley Pool and Leisure sign, and the Brise Soleil is only illuminated through backlighting from inside the pool itself. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's completely correct.
So there will effectively, as Councillor Dawson says, be a 20-foot long illuminated sign, even if it's only backlit from inside the pool.
So what we're considering today is solely the graphic design that's going on the Brise Soleil. The notion of the Brise Soleil and the glare coming from the existing building was approved in 2018. We're only looking at the actual design that is going on to the Brise Soleil.
I can see does the Chief Planning Officer want to come in? Mark?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think that Jasmine has just said what I was going to say. This is an advertisement application. So the Brise Soleil was put up as part of a previous permission. I think actually, theoretically, it might be able to something like put up without permission because it's a part 12 of the General Permitted Development Order. It's a local government thing. So anyway, it's got permission. The Brise Soleil as a structure has got permission. This is an advertisement only application. So it's the wording and the images that you've seen plus any lighting which is there to show that up. That is the advertisement application, not the Brise Soleil itself.
And not the lighting inside the building?
No. Not if the lighting's already there. If it's part of an application to light some words up, then yes. But if the lighting's already there, then no.
Well, we've been told this isn't, so that can be picked up in debate. Thank you for that, Mr. Russell. There's no other hands up, and my screen is playing up. I've lost. Right, we're going to public speakers, but I can't find them at the moment. But I think we've got the Town Council wishing to speak. Is that correct, Claire? Can you just help me out here?
Yes, Chair. We have Carol Schleip from the Town Council.
Right, well, if Carol Schleip, if you'd like to join, turn your camera on and your mic, and perhaps Jasmine, you can take down your sharing.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning. Sorry about that. I've got my thing back now.
Okay.
Yep. Your time will start when you start speaking.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Good morning. Hadley Town Council really welcomes the very considerable investment made by Babergh in this facility, with a bit of a top up from the Town Council of 200,000. It's a fantastic facility for Hadley. And I'd also like to thank the officers of Babergh District Council who've delivered this project, probably against a very difficult backdrop of COVID. So I'm therefore a bit sort of disappointed to make an objection on the final stage of the project regarding the signage. It's a bit confusing. I think we're all a bit confused with the answers that we've been given this morning. It seems to me that in the planning application, the signs would be lit from sort of, even perhaps from inside the building, from 0545 hours to 22:30 hours, 7 days a week. I think that was in the application. And I accept it's going to be different in the summer to the winter, but potentially it's going to be there, for quite a lot of the time. I think it's also considered, I think locally, there's already enough light over the sort of the porch, which can be seen. The area is already well lit, and the sort of impact of more illuminated signs or whatever is unnecessary. And we've also declared a sort of a climate emergency. I know Babergh has, and with Suffolk, and I know Hadley Town Council has, but I think neighbours are concerned. It is in a conservation area. There are a lot of buildings in the area. There's already going to be a lot of light from the car park, which I think is sort of understandable. Because obviously it's going to be used by the public, and you've got a duty of care there. So really, I have an objection about the lighting and the length of time that it's going to be there. Which is 5:45 till 22:30. And really, that's all I need to to say. But thank you very much for giving me the opportunities to put my views across.
Thank you. I'll see if there's any questions for you. Members, is there any hands going up? No. Thank you very much then. Right, we'll carry on. If you'd like to turn your camera and mic off. I'm not sure whether we've got an objector or supporter or the agent.
No, Chair, we haven't. Right,
so we'll then go right down to the ward members, and I'm not sure if we have them. Is Councillor Grandon with us?
She's not, Chair, but she has confirmed via email that she has no objections to the application.
Thank
you.
We
don't have Councillor Fraser with us today either, and we've not had anything from him.
Thank you. Right, so we can't do questions to them. So we're now in debate, members. Right, who would like to start? This is a application for an advertisement consent. Councillor Dawson.
Yes, I suppose I should. Thank you, Carol, for eloquently again for your discussion on this. It's tricky, this one, because as a swimmer, and I am the Hadley North member, there is a great deal of locally, people just don't see the point in Babergh putting a sign up to advertise. They feel it's not really necessary. And I have to say, I'm inclined to agree with this. It's also in a conservation area. Local residents are really quite upset about it all because they've got all the lighting there for the car park. The panel can be seen quite clearly in daylight. Do we need a neon light 20 metres long being lit up at night to advertise it? I can't really see the logic of doing it. So, it's got the permission for the Brise Soleil, but I don't think advertising is really necessary in a conservation area in the evening. So I have to agree with the town council and with local residents. I wouldn't really support this.
Well, thank you very much. That's understandable. Councillor Osborne, I did see you come up, but have you gone again?
Oh no, I'm still there. Just
right. No, that's fine.
There is only one option to this from Sean Dawson's point of view, and that is you don't have the lights on in the inside the building to light that screen up.
I agree.
And if you've got lights inside the building, whether the signage up or not, you've still got lights coming through. So you either put a blinder over the top of the whole lot to come off at the time that the lights come on. The only bit of advertising that's coming on is the lighting for Hadley Pool leisure position. So let's get real with this. If you don't want the lighting, you've got to turn the lighting off inside the building.
Thank you. Councillor Busby.
Just a quick question. What will the panel be made of? What kind of material?
How much? I'm not sure if Kate might be able to answer that slightly better than I can.
Kate, can you help?
Yeah, it's a type of plastic. I can get them some more specifics, but it is a type of plastic that is that has got the ability to be it's slightly transparent. That's then plugged into some metal fasteners, but it's been printed on for us.
So
sorry.
It will diffuse the light. It will kill a lot of the light that would normally be there if it was just windows, for instance.
Yes, so it's not glass. It is plastic, and it is quite colourful. So again, regarding how much light will come through, there's a reasonable amount of colour within the panels to, like you say, diffuse some of the light.
Yeah.
And glare.
Thank you. Councillor Mclaren.
Sorry. When we in normal planning applications, we're able to ask the applicant. The applicant is Babergh District Council. Is it remiss of me to ask who in Babergh District Council requested this application? And what was the reasoning behind the application? Who in the council requested it?
That's a good point. Jasmine, can you help us out? Is this part of the normal application?
Do you mean in terms of why have we got this application for adverts, or who is responsible behind?
Right, Jasmine, what I'm asking is, Babergh District Council is quite a large group of people. Which department felt it was necessary to put this application to the planning committee?
I've got Mark here. I think he might be able to help us.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's at committee because it's Babergh's application. That's the reason. But in terms of questions about where it's come from, what it's needed for, and all of that, Kate Parnham's here. She's spoken a couple of times, so she may be able to help you, Councillor Mclaren.
Right, thank you.
Kate, can you help?
Hi, yeah. So I work in the economic development team. This project started before I was involved. Chris Fry brought it full to committee to get the funding to then get the application for this. So, the original application around the Brise Soleil and the signage was always part of that cabinet report that was agreed on, I think 3 years ago. All I've done is just picked up the last bit of the application because obviously there's advertisements on our building and therefore has to come to committee. I think normally it wouldn't necessarily have to come to committee, it'd be an officer decision, but because obviously we're the owner, as it were, it had to come to yourself. So the Brise Soleil was agreed at both formal council as well as obviously planning about having the Brise Soleil and a new sign, as it were, because there's obviously original sign on there. I understand there's an issue about the lighting, but that's where it's come from.
Can I also ask another question, Kate?
Yep,
was there you say the original sign? Where was? I mean, I can understand having a sign saying Hadley Leisure Centre. I accept that. But was there an original one that's been is there or is being replaced?
Yeah, so the original one is, I can show an image of that if that would be helpful, of what it was originally, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
it was quite tired and dated, and obviously we just invested,
Okay.
as you can imagine, 2.2 million in this building, and it felt that because it's got a more focus on swimming, I suppose, we've just put in a very nice swimming pool, that the name change, and just to make it very clear about what's actually at that centre, because not all licenses have swimming pools, as you will know. So it was really important to advertise the investment we had, and that there's a lovely swimming pool there. But if it's helpful, I can send the image to Jasmine to share, if that helps, what the original sign looked like. If that
No, I accept. It was just that obviously, the replacement. And so you've told me that, so that's fine. Thank you, Chair.
Mark, did you want to come back? Or
Chair, may I suggest, if it's all right with you, can Jasmine just spell out again exactly what is being proposed here? Because obviously some things are mixed up with what's already got permission. I wonder if members might benefit from just a sort of 2-minute run through exactly what the proposal is, remembering it's an advertisement application, and that's all we're looking at. So I'll let Jasmine just quickly run through a key slides again, if that's okay, at a time convenient to you.
Yeah, no. I've got still 2 hands up, Sian Dawson, Dane Busby, but I think they're old hands, or aren't they? Old hands, right. Yes, Jasmine, if you'd like to take us through and explain exactly what we're being asked to agree or not agree to.
Yeah, okay, if I just share my screen again, because that might just help visualise it. Right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Brilliant. Right, so if I go, so this was the 2018 permission, and the permission related to extending and sort of refurbing the whole existing Hadley Pool and Leisure facility. As part of this application, a Brise Soleil was approved. So this application is solely for what the design that is going onto the Brise Soleil, and for Hadley Pool and Leisure to go here. So if we just see, so the panels, there are 5 panels here which would have a design on. The Brise Soleil has already got permission, so technically could be put there without, us approving or refusing this today. It's solely just what is actually on that Brise Soleil. You've then got the Hadley Pool and Leisure sign on this front here. The sign itself is unilluminated. There would be a, if I just go here, there is a light at the top here which faces downwards onto this sign, and that's it. So in terms of the lighting, there will be an element of lighting already coming from the building, but that has already been approved in 2018. Likewise, any glare coming from the Brise Soleil is from the building itself, rather than actually being emitted from anything that we're considering today.
Right, thank you. Councillor Osborne.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to get the clarification so that everybody understands it. Those pictures you've just seen show the southwest, I think, and the northeast. So they're 2 different elevations of the building. So somebody or some members are looking at the position that they're both coming from the same position. They're not. Perhaps that should be clarified a little bit better.
All right, thank you. Yes, there's two sides. Councillor Plum.
Thank you, Chair. I was going to make that point that Councillor Osborne's just made, but also the sign over the Hadley pool, etc., that light already exists. Is that correct?
Jasmine or Kate?
I think I'd probably need to ask Kate. I'm not sure that the light over that already exists, but certainly the signage, there is some signage there.
Kate, can you help?
Yes, the sign is there, but it's not lit as such at the moment. So that is additional.
And can I come back on that? And is that next to the entrance to the pool?
The front entrance.
Is that
the main entrance?
Is that the main entrance to the pool?
Should I share my screen again just so you can see the elevation?
Well, no, we just need to know whether that's the main entrance.
I'd like that back, please.
So this is where the entrance is. That's that's the Hadley Pool and Leisure. This elevation faces onto the existing car park, which is where there's already street lights and whatnot there. This elevation is on the opposite side to that, so it's basically flipped round, as you can sort of see by the elevations, and faces onto the open space that surrounds the building, and then obviously there's a set of dwellings there, but those dwellings facing that side are actually further away than the ones that face sort of north, which is sort of over here. So that's pretty much it, really.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dawes. Sorry, yes.
Sorry, could I come?
No, hang on. Councillor Plum hasn't finished. That's my fault.
So that's the only thing that is a light is already in the car park area and is only going to be on at the same time as the car park lights, and it also illuminates the front entrance, which otherwise might be a rather dark hole, and in terms of personal safety, it's a good thing.
No.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Dawson.
Yes, Kate, could you be so kind to put that photo up again, the one you just showed us of?
Yeah, of course. Bear with me.
The one prior to that. Sorry, back again. The one you showed of the, you brought up. No.
Number 7, isn't it?
That one, yes. Now, my understanding is here, there is subtle lighting from inside this pool that is going through that window, and outside of that window, there is more lighting that's lighting up the signage.
This isn't a window. This is
yes, but where those panels are that are see-through on the exterior of the building, there is lighting lighting up those panels. The lighting from inside is, subtle lighting coming through. That's fine, but
sorry, Councillor Dawson, we just got to be clear. Slide, if you can go back to that slide that we were on, the other one. That one is there's no lighting behind that or anything. It just comes down from the top. So that isn't the one that you're referring to, because and now if we go to slide 7, this is the one I think you're referring to now.
Yes, and that there is lighting outside the building there, which is coming on, which is what all the residents, this is my understanding, is not acceptable.
So there's only lighting that's being proposed on this application that is at the top of this wall here. There is no lighting on this side at all.
Right, so we're clear. The only lighting is from inside the
pool.
Yeah. So there's none on the outside, Councillor Dawson. Councillor Parker, you're next.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just really as a committee member from looking from the outside in, just to say that we're not making a fist of this, Mr. Chairman. Purely reading from the report, paragraph 4.2 on page 42 gives assurances around the lighting, when it's going to be on, when it isn't going to be on. Paragraph 7 to 7.2 on page 43 covers the heritage issue, and most pertinently, paras 8 to 8.3 cover the impact on residential amenity. I don't know, we spent £2.2 million on this unit, Chair. I don't know why we're having such an extensive debate about it. I for one have absolutely no issues with it, Chair. Even to the extent that I'm actually happy to propose that we accept the officer's recommendation.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Very helpful. Do I have a seconder for it?
Yes.
Right, Councillor Plum. Did you want to pass any comment? No.
Other than let's get on with it. We're spending far too much time debating something which doesn't need any further debate.
Right, I'm inclined to agree with you. I think, members, we have had quite a debate on this. It is quite clear. It's on page 45, the recommendation. to grant, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 comments there, conditions. So I think it's all catered for. Councillor Hinton, I can see your hands come up. I don't know if it's an old one or whether. Right,
just
yeah,
a quick point. I agree with the fact that it's been proposed and seconded, but I think a lot of this confusion could have been avoided if we'd had some photographs of the building, because that would have more clearly shown what was going on rather than trying to interpret a 2D representation in the drawing.
I concur with that, John, actually, because
right, thank you. I think you've made your point. We can all be wise afterwards, but I'm sure the officers have noted that point. But I think I'm going to suggest that we now go to the vote. So I'm going to ask Claire to read out the recommendation and then take us through to the vote.
Thank you, Chair. So the vote is that application DC 2100813 be approved as detailed in the officer recommendation. Members, that vote is now in progress. If you select the plus sign on your ModGov app, select attendance and voting, and then voting. And this vote is now showing in progress in a light blue colour.
Yes, right.
Just waiting for one vote, Chair.
Hopefully not mine. I think I'm done.
No, right. That's all the votes in. Thank you. That's 10 votes for, Chair. So that is carried.
Thank you very much. Well, members, we've got to the end of today's meeting. So thank you all very much for that. Just to remind you, the date and time of the next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, the 5th of May at 9:30. Hopefully there won't be too many items on the agenda, but your attendance is required. Okay. I'd like to declare the meeting